It's a new year and the Addicts will be hoping for a fresh start in 2024 after a difficult ending to 2023. Charlton are back in action here at the Valley and looking to bounce back from that late defeat on the road against Bristol Rovers on Friday. Oxford United sit 6th in the league, but their form has suffered since the departure of head coach Liam Manning to Bristol City in early November. New head coach Des Buckingham is Oxford born and bred, and while recent wins over Bolton and Cambridge show his side's quality, their lack of consistency has seen them move out of the automatic promotion places. With less than 45 minutes until kick-off, let's take a look and see what we've got coming up on Charlton TV. We will hear from Michael Appleton, who spoke to Charlton TV ahead of today's game. We'll also be taking a trip down memory lane with former Charlton and England player Danny Mills. And we'll also be taking a look at our opposition to preview what they could bring to the Valley ahead of today's contest. A warm welcome and a very happy new year to all of you joining us around the world today. Don't forget that you can purchase your matchday pass on stream for £10 by visiting our website. It is a warm, happy new year and a warm welcome to the studio to Alan Curbishley and Danny Mills. Danny, we haven't had a Charlton TV debut in a while, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
It's been a while since I've been here, actually. It was a little bit surreal walking in, even just driving over the railway line, coming into the ground. Not a lot has changed since I last played here. I came here for Leeds, when Leeds were in the Premier League, early 2000s probably. And I've not really been back since. But yeah, some incredibly fond memories of this place. Yeah,
and we're going to talk about those fond memories as the show goes on. But Curbs, you and Danny were having a bit of a catch-up before kick-off as well. How nice is it when you get to have that opportunity to see former players again?
He's still asking for his 10%.
Well, yeah, we made a good profit on you, actually.
Made me a fortune, this fella.
It was interesting because I was driving in thinking, I knew Danny was going to be on today, and thinking how it all happened, and it was strange really. I was asked to manage like an England Football League team against the Italians, and the game was being played here. So we got the squad together. Me and Les Reed was running it, and that's the first time I saw Danny up close. And the reason I agreed to do it was to get up close to some of the players. It was a Football League 11. And after the game, that was it. I kept tabs on it, and I wanted to do it. And eventually, Norwich agreed to let us have him.
I think it's fascinating when you hear about recruitment nowadays, because when Curbs and I have spoken in the past about players, you have spoken about obviously their skill and the professionalism required, but the character as well. When you have those opportunities, even in those scenarios, you've always kind of got your eyes and ears open. And as we're heading towards the January window, I imagine Michael Appleton might have a few sort of Danny Mills listed that he wants to bring to the club over the next 4 weeks as well.
In all fairness, I did scout myself. I know now it's changed completely where, sporting directors, but I went to watch the players, and if it was a foreign player especially, I'd go and watch them play away from home, not just at home, etc. But when I saw Danny close up, that was it for me. I'd come back, Richard Murray, let's try and do it. I can't remember who the manager was. Who was your manager?
Mike Walker was the manager at Norwich.
Mike Walker.
I'd been frozen out for about 6 months. I was desperate to leave. Tony Pulis had tried to take me to Gillingham, and that had fallen through a couple of times. And it was getting the old-fashioned transfer window, wasn't it? Last Thursday, third Thursday in March, whatever it was, old-fashioned. And obviously I played the game, and I think Curbs had said, we've been sort of maybe looking at a right back. Brownie had been injured, obviously was struggling with his knee. And obviously, I think, game went well, and a week later I signed for Charlton, and that was it. 10 games unbeaten, nine clean sheets at the end of the season, and then conceded 4 in the playoff final.
What's the feeling instant for you, though, Danny? Because I think it is really interesting. Not all of us, certainly us supporters, we don't have that insight into what it's like to be a professional footballer, and when you're making those moves, it can have an impact on your family, your friends.
It also, and I talk about this now, obviously my lad will be here today on the bench for Oxford, but it's so different. Go back to 1998, no mobile phones really, no sat-nav, no play liaison officers. I drove down, turned up with a map, following the signs to the Valley, whatever it was, had the meeting, right, you signed. Well, now where do I stay? What do I do? What happens next? it's difficult. And it was the same then when I left here and then went to Leeds. Similar sort of thing. You know, you don't really know what you're doing. You just muddle through it. And to be fair, at the time, Mark Kinsella was magnificent. Eddie Yowd had just signed. We'd travel in together. But yeah, go back to finding your way around with a map. But I remember, it's a shame he's not here actually, Steve Brown. I walked in the door for the first time. Obviously, new signings coming through the door. You say hello to one or two players and this, that and the other. And then Steve Brownie comes up to me and says, "Oh, yeah, thanks. You do realise I've got a wife and mortgage and kids to pay for." And you've just taken my position. I'm like, "Oh, bro, I'm a kid just walked through the door and all of a sudden..." How old was you? 20.
Yeah, it was under 21 team.
So, for senior players giving up, "I'm sorry, didn't mean it."
And you mentioned earlier your son plays for Oxford United. You have got a foot in both camps. Give us some intel here on what we can expect from the visitors.
I think they'll go 5 at the back today. They've got a lot of injuries. My lad came off the last game, was touch and go. He was going to be fit, hasn't trained since their last game. I think they'll play a box in midfield, keep it tight. All their wingers are injured at the moment, so there's not a lot of width. So that the wing backs will provide the width. They'll go 3 at the back. I think at times I would say they can overplay. Beadle from the keeper's very, very good from Brighton. He could be on his way, by all accounts as well. There's rumours around that. He could be off on another loan. They overplay it at times. And if the opposition get on top of them, especially from set pieces as well, they've struggled of late. So they play good football. They've got some good players. They want to get the ball down and play. But sometimes you've got to play with a purpose, and there has to be a direction. It's not just keeping it for keeping's sake, because I think we often see in many a game these days, the whole point of football is scoring goals and winning the game. Simple as that. It doesn't matter if that's 115 passes or 1 pass. It's about getting that ball in the back of the net. And
they've conceded some late goals, haven't they? Which unfortunately has been a slight habit that we've been getting into at Charlton Athletic as well. Well, without further ado, earlier on I caught up with head coach Michael Appleton to find out who will be starting for the Addicts today. Well, Michael, happy new year. We're back here at the Valley, a fresh start, fresh year. What are you hoping from your side today?
Probably similar to what they give me the other day, to be fair, because, listen, obviously everyone knows where we're at in terms of injuries and availability to certain players. But apart from obviously the ridiculous goal at the end that we all know about and got to learn as a group and must be better with, they give me a spirit, they give me an enthusiasm, they ran around, they showed a lot of energy, they took pride in trying to get on the ball, play forward, be brave, and I'm going to need all that again today. And I think with that, a little bit more quality in that final third, and our fans behind us, then, hopefully it'll be a good day.
On today's lineup, can you talk us through it? Are there any changes at all?
Yeah, unfortunately Alfie's not made it, so that's another one. Yeah, so obviously he was struggling the other night with his back. He gave as best as he possibly could. He gave us as much as he possibly could. But yeah, unfortunately he's struggling with that a little bit at the minute. We're hoping it's not a long one. It's just he just needs a week or so. So hopefully he'll be fine for next week. But he hasn't made it today. So yeah, TC comes in, which is, it's good for him because, he's been in and out a little bit over the last couple of months or so. His form has been sort of a bit up and down. But I must say the impact he had on the group when he came on the other night was good and positive, and hopefully can take that in today.
Oxford have had some mixed results of late. What kind of test are you expecting from them?
It will be a tough test. I mean, they've got their injuries concerns as well, so I know where sort of Des is coming from that point of view. What I would say is that they've been a side that's used to competing in the top 6 of this division for a long, long time now. So there's a lot of quality there. There is talk of 1 or 2 of them coming back into the group today, which will make them stronger. They play a very, very similar brand to I've been playing at my 2 or 3 previous clubs, Oxford being one of them. So, it could be one of them where both teams might cancel each other out a little bit in terms of the style, but hopefully there'll be enough on show from both sides to make it a good game.
You mentioned sort of the energy, the hard work, the personality from the team that you wanted to see today. Is there any other ways that kind of you were going to adapt for the visitors at all?
Well, to be fair, they're the type of group, certainly Oxford, where they do allow you to play, so normally, you come up against certain teams who look to press really high. Now, they may change all of a sudden today, but they do allow you to play. So I think from our point of view, you know, we can sort of adapt it to our own style and make sure that we have an effect in the final third. But I think certainly when we haven't got the ball, I'll be looking for something similar to what I've seen at Bristol Rovers.
Despite some drop points on the road, most of our wins have come here at the Valley this season so far. How much are you looking forward to being back in front of the home crowd?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's, you know, obviously we've lost a couple of points of late here from being in winning positions, and we need to make sure we eradicate that. But in terms of the feel-good factor, you know, we've had some decent results here, and when we've won as well, we've had some big wins, and hopefully, you know, we can sort of start the new year with a bit of a goal fest.
Thank you so much. Good luck. Cheers. So here is confirmation of the starting lineup for Charlton. One change, Alfie May misses out. Tyrese Campbell comes into the side, playing on that right-hand side. Daniel Canoe and Corey Blackett-Taylor over on the left. Danny, we were hearing that Oxford United are a little bit like the walking wounded at the moment. Charlton are as well. I mean, I'm sure you've seen from afar the impact that Alfie May has had, not just for Charlton, but over the course of the year. And Curbs, you'll be pleased to know that he did top the goal scoring charts. He beat Erling Haaland, but he's
and Salah.
And Salah. He's a huge loss, and I'm sure that will give the visitors a boost.
We just mentioned it there briefly. It's all about scoring goals. You know, I played for some great managers, you know, but when you go back to, obviously I played for Martin O'Neill, obviously was a disciple of Brian Clough, and he was like, what happens in between the two boxes is irrelevant. It's only what happens in your own 18-yard box and what happens in the opposition. That bit in the middle doesn't matter. Who cares? It's about scoring goals and not conceding goals. So if you lose a player like that, yeah, it's very, very difficult. But yeah, you hear Pep, Klopp, you know, all Postecoglou, all moaning about injuries this time of year. Yeah. Have they never seen League One or the Championship? Because it's just, that's what it is. That's what it is all the time. They don't get a break, you know, and they've got cup games and everything else. Smaller squads as well. You know, it's absolutely relentless, and it's no surprise that a lot of teams at the moment this time of year in the Championship and League One are struggling.
Danny, I'm so glad you picked out the word relentless, because that is exactly what I was going to say as well. The schedule's been relentless. A little bit of bad luck as well, because even
I used to get suspended just to get a break.
Pick up that second yellow.
Well, especially around Christmas time.
I used to do it so help Brownie pays mortgage.
Yeah. Give him his chance in the team. But yeah, even Tedic missing out due to concussion protocol. That was a positive on Friday night.
Four centre forwards are injured. You know, and obviously Alfie May is the top scorer at the moment, but you know, with Chuck's out, Chuck's Anike, Miles Leeburn, you know, we are down to bare bones at the moment in terms of that centre forward position. But as Danny's saying, I think you said earlier that Oxford are struggling, they've got loads of injuries, so it's just par for the course at the moment.
And I guess it comes down then to just having a really, really strong mentality. And if you are one of that starting 11, and particularly if you're a player like Tyrese Campbell, you've taken that opportunity and showcasing your talent in front of the crowd.
And you're right, it's mentality, isn't it? Because a lot of these players are tired. You know, they've been playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday midweek, pretty much all the way through the season. And this last month or so has been really, really difficult. And obviously Oxford have been in cup competitions as well in the EFL and still in the FA Cup. That makes it even harder. But as a player sometimes, you know, it's managing your body. Since I think Des Buckingham's come into the job, he's probably had, I would say, 4 proper training sessions where it's not a recovery day or not the day before a game, because it's just you play, and that must be so difficult as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick reminder that if you do want to get in touch with us here in the studio, then you can contact us via the WhatsApp that's coming up on screen. If you'd like me to pose any questions to Danny on his time here at Charlton, representing his country as well, we've got plenty of time, and we will be taking a trip down memory lane shortly. Curbs, Danny spoke there about mentality, and it's a tough time of year anyway. It's even tougher when you're going through a really rotten patch. December without victory. Those players are going to have to dig really, really deep, and they're not the oldest bunch, but we're looking for some leaders this afternoon, I think it's fair to say.
Well, we've been saying for some time that, you know, young players have gone into the Charlton side and they're learning the game. And, you know, if you're not winning, and it's a little bit more difficult for them younger players, confidence-wise. The problem is, I think, with the crowd, the size of the crowd, and I'm not expecting to see a big crowd here today, players can hear everything, the manager can hear everything, you know. So that tends for the player to go into his shell a little bit and not express himself, you know, because as soon as you give the ball away, there's a groan somewhere or there's a moan and whatever. So they're going to have to stand up today, because it ain't going to be the biggest crowd. We're not playing that well. We need a result, and, you know, the fans whoever come in here today are waiting for the team to do something.
Yeah,
that's the problem at the moment. They're waiting for them to give them a lift instead of the other way around. The fans giving the players a lift. So they're going to have to stand up. And I'll be interested to see Kanu play today because he needs to play down the middle. He's quick. He's aggressive. So he's been given his chance, and it looks like with his injuries at the moment,
he's going to keep getting those chances.
He could be getting a few more chances.
Danny, you mentioned when you joined the club, you were a youngster, and although you might not necessarily have the warmest welcome from experienced pros like Brownie,
everyone else is all right.
I was going to ask, how do you negotiate and find that way? Because here at Charlton, we've had an academy produce some really fantastic players. Perhaps they're playing more games than would have been anticipated, and it must hit you a little bit harder, those mistakes.
There's always senior pros, and I was 90% of the players are really good. There are never that many bad apples. There are one or two maybe selfish players that do their own thing. But Mark Kinsella looked after me. Keith Jones was here at the time. Paul Mortimer. I'd been around the club and a lot of experience. New lads coming in. I scored on my debut, which helped. We went up to Crewe.
We'll look back on that as well. We've got that.
Score from a yard, prolific from a yard.
They all count.
All little things like that, all sort of help and help you to settle in. But I think you have to go in. You've got to back yourself. You've got to believe in yourself, and just go out and show what you can do. And it doesn't matter who you are. You've got to work hard. You've got to put that effort in and show all your peers and all your other teammates or new teammates, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make mistakes. That's football. That's going to happen. But if I make a mistake, I'm going to do everything possible to make up for that. And then all of a sudden, players accept you. And then, of course, winning helps. You get on a little bit of a winning run, and suddenly it's, actually, this player's not too bad.
It's interesting. As Danny's talking, I was thinking about his time because he's come. We won promotion, got relegated the last game of the season, and Leeds come in for him. And David O'Leary was really keen. And what it did, Danny being transferred to Leeds, stopped us selling any players. Because we took Danny's money in, we kept the squad together. And, because when you get relegated, people come after your players. And we managed to bring players in, Dean Kiley and one or two others, with Danny's money. So...
hang on. I saved the football club.
We didn't save us, but you helped.
Yeah. Well, I find it fascinating because if you look at every club's journey, and we were previewing the January transfer window and how significant it is, weren't we, on Friday evening, it really is just so important. How's that team doing for form? How much they feel that they could cope without that particular player?
It's sliding doors moments at times.
Yeah.
And I often, a lot of people go back and they talk about the playoff final, and what is it like and what happened. I said, well, I went on and had a very, very good career. We were promoted to the Premier League, got noticed by Leeds, then played for England and went on from there. I'd have still been the same player had we have lost that playoff final. Would we have got promoted the next season? Don't know. Would I have then gone on and had this? You just don't know what happens at times. So it's about being ready. And like you say here, young players maximising that opportunity. When you're a young player, you're in and out of the team because you're inconsistent. That's what young players are. If you're a senior player playing in League One, without being disrespectful, it's probably because you're not good enough for the Championship or the Premier League. But if you're a young player, you're probably in this division because you've got potential, but you're inconsistent. So all the young players out there, it's a great opportunity. They've just got to go out there, maximise it, work their socks off and enjoy it.
All those ifs and buts, but ultimately those non-negotiables of working hard will hold you in good stead.
It's not changed.
Yeah, and that's what we hope for anyway. And let's move on now because every team in League One is playing on New Year's Day, and we can take a look at the fixtures taking place. Barnsley host Wigan, while Blackpool will be looking to bounce back from a surprising loss on Friday at home to Lincoln City. Bolton Wanderers host Burton Albion, while Cambridge United take on Leyton Orient. The game of the day sees Derby County host Peterborough United, while Stevenage travel to table toppers Portsmouth. Lee Johnson was sacked by Fleetwood Town this weekend, and they'll be looking for a bounce at home to Shrewsbury Town. Curbs, Fleetwood Town have sacked a manager for the second time this season. They sit 5 points from safety. What do you make of that decision?
Well, this is the month. You're going to see it happen.
It's his second sacking as well this season.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you've got the window opening up, and if you're going to bring a manager in, you bring him in now, so he's got a chance to do something in the transfer window. Nothing surprises me anymore. Watch this space, I think.
I was a little bit surprised because I know Fleetwood really well. I know the owners, I know the director of football there. It's actually a really well-run club. Maybe since obviously one or two issues with the owner, Had one or two sort of legal issues and financial issues. Maybe it's changed a little bit since then, but it's a well-run club. You can't just keep sacking managers. It doesn't work, you know, simple as that. You get a bounce for what, 2 or 3 games?
Yeah.
But ultimately it's about the players. If the players aren't good enough, it's very, very difficult, and that always comes down to finances.
I think I was reading an article the other day that said the sort of average now that an EFL manager can get is around about 18 months. And when you're talking, like lots of clubs are, whether it be in the Championship or down to League Two, you've got strategy and you're wanting to build for the long term. 18 months is hard, whether it's football or any other business clubs. You must look back and think, I mean, the modern manager now, it's just a completely different game, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I used to sit down with Richard Murray at the start of the season and, you know, try and gauge where we think we should be. And we was quite relative. Like, you know, I'd say, well, I think we've got a chance of getting near the playoffs or whatever. And he'd go, well, I think if we finish mid-table, I'll be happy with that. So we never really, it was never, oh no, we've got to win promotion, or, you know, and every year we just slowly built and said, like, got our expectation levels a little bit higher. I don't know if managers get time to do that now. You know, it's so publicised at the moment. You know, you can't escape the criticism.
So much scrutiny, isn't there?
Yeah, you can't escape it. You know, Danny was talking about mobile phones and things like that. You know, social media and etc. You know, so it's very, very difficult being a manager now, I would imagine. But in the lower leagues, and that's what the LMA are really strong on, is security, the lower league managers' contracts. Because, you know, there is owners out there that do take full advantage of a young manager when they're offering them a job, and you know, because they know they're keen to take it.
And people always, and I still get this now. People go, "Oh, Premier League players, they're all on 200 grand a week." No, they're not. And then you drop the Championship, and it's not half. It's not half. It's a percentage of that. And then you drop into League One, you know, and a manager's on not a lot of money. It's good in the real, what you would call the real world money, you know, if you were working in a factory comparative to that, but it's not life-changing money, and he's got staff to think about. And Curbs is right, there are lots of managers out of work will take a job just because it's a job, you know, and they're not getting paid particularly well, and then that then creates that monster that they can be got rid of really easily, because they're cheap to get rid of. And this is where you get this cyclical problem of, like, well, just hiring and firing constantly.
It's an industry like no other, that's for sure. Portsmouth take on Stevenage today, and in February they come here to visit at the Valley. And on Saturday, February the 24th, we have a really important event taking place. It's the club's annual PSA testing day. And we can see Curbs on screen there. The PSA test is a blood test that measures the amount of prostate-specific antigen, PSA, in your blood to help diagnose prostate problems, including prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is now the 3rd most common cancer in the UK, and early diagnosis is crucial, but symptoms do not usually appear until the prostate is large enough to affect them. Curbs, you're pictured there, and it's something you take really seriously. I was speaking to Brownie about it as well. It's really important that we raise awareness of this issue for men's health.
Yeah, and I think the football industry are really behind it. Certainly, you see the managers wearing the badge, the prostate badge.
And what Jeff Stelling's done as well.
Yeah.
You know, raising
so many people. I mean, I know ex-managers that have got prostate problems. You know, Mickey Hartford come out recently, you know, saying that he had prostate, and it is an easy check. You know, you have the blood test, or you can go to your doctor and have a physical.
That's something that I need to do. My wife, I'm approaching, heading towards 50. And my wife keeps going, you need to get checked. Oh, yeah, but I'm healthy, I still run. She's like, no, you need to go and get checked. And I think that's the biggest, and I will get checked out in the new year. Well, no, it is the
Come along in February.
Well, but I think that's the point. You know, you go, I'm all right, but you don't, like you just said, you don't know about it. So it's a harmless check. It's not invasive. So I'll be getting it done. Yeah, everyone out there, get it done.
Absolutely. If you're coming here for the Valley to watch football and you can make that little effort to go and get the test done, like these guys say in Curbs, it's not invasive.
It might be less painful than watching the football.
There we go. Danny said it best. It's a really important day, and we would encourage all of our male supporters over the age of 40 to come along, and to our female supporters as well, encourage your dads, your uncles. It's affecting members of my family as well, and would certainly encourage people to come along and get tested on the 24th of February. So, Danny, are you ready to take a trip down memory lane? Well, look, why don't we start at the beginning, your debut? You mentioned it. It was a trip to Crewe, wasn't it? Recall that moment when you were told by Curbs you're going to be starting.
Yeah, I mean, strange kit as well. It was an unusual one. I think Brighty says he got an assist here. I'm not convinced, in all honesty. He missed a sitter. Yeah, it just popped up. But again, it's bizarre what you remember from these games. That was when the system was, if you went 5 games without a booking, you could wipe one off.
Oh wow!
And that was my 5th game, and I think I was on the verge, and Curbs took me off, and I'm thinking, if I'd have survived 10 minutes, I'd have got one taken off. Now I've got another game now getting booked. I mean, when you look back, there's some strange rules, Curbs, weren't there?
Yeah, I didn't realise
some really
that one.
Strange rule changes coming to bookings.
Some of our midfielders could do with that, couldn't they? Curbs, what kind of impact do you remember Danny having on the team at that time?
Well, I was struck by his pace. When I took the England league team, up close, I was struck by his pace, which is undoubtedly what you need now in the Premier League. And his versatility, he could play different positions.
I'd grown up really as a centre half, and then at Norwich, Martin O'Neill had given me my debut, had thrown me at sort of left back, and then as a young player, you never really got a chance at centre half unless you were exceptional, and I certainly wasn't that at that stage. So you got farmed out to fullback, slightly less risky. So I'd played centre half most of my junior career, then I played fullback, and you played in different positions. So I think again, it just, you're learning your trade, growing up very, very quickly. But yeah, came in as the right back and went right to the end of the season, didn't it?
Well, I was going to say, talk to me about that run and all of those clean sheets, because Curbs clean sheets nowadays, they're something we dream about. But Danny, tell us from your perspective.
I'd come in, Eddie Howard had come in, we had Richard Rufus, Mark Bowen was left back. I knew Mark, I cleaned Mark's boots when I was at Norwich, I was his apprentice. And it was just, we were just solid. Sasha had not been in goal that long, Eddie was doing okay. And we were just, but Keith Jones in front of that, Mark Kinsella, real good midfield players that were prepared to do.
Roots on your side as well.
Yeah, to do the hard work, and put a shift in, and that's what it was all about. We just. It was when I left Norwich. I remember going in and picking me bin bag up full of boots, and people going, "Where are you going?" I went, "I'm going Wembley." Because I didn't. Again, I had to look on teletext to see where Charlton were at the time. Fourth in the fourth. Well, we'll have a bit of that. And flippantly, I said Wembley, and of course it happened out. But again, I don't remember much about the day at all. Was very, very young, and most of my memories from that day are false. They're all TV memories.
Well, let's have a little look at the image that we've got from that day. I mean, you've mentioned some of your teammates and what a team spirit you had, Danny. But you look at that bunch there and the day itself must have just been so special.
Curbs looks young, doesn't he? He looks like he's getting married in that suit there.
We weren't happy about the suits, was we?
No.
Talk to me about the suits then, Curbs. How did they...
Peter Varney went somewhere and done a deal. And look. And I always remember seeing Reedy's suit. It was all smart, Reedy was. Look at us. No, it was all right. But, no, I just think that we planned the day. We drew a pitch at the training ground the same size as Wembley, didn't we? Didn't really practice penalties, did we?
No, didn't think about that.
Didn't think about penalties.
No, didn't think about it at all.
But we had some characters there. I mean, Robbo had been injured, so he's moaning his head off, wasn't he? John Robinson was moaning like normal because Neil Heaney was starting, and and then the whole day, as Danny was saying, it sort of just passes you by. But the only thing I remember really about it was the whole stadium was red and white.
I don't remember the dressing rooms. I don't remember walking out. I don't remember any. I think there was some kids playing beforehand that I remember, and then the only genuine memory that I have was me and Mark Kinsella walking down Wembley Way with the trophy.
Yeah.
Because I think we had a gather it, or we had a.
No, we was going to the Richard Murray studio.
Yeah, so we had to get to but Mark Kinsella's got the trophy, and we're walking down Wembley Way. Can you imagine that happening now?
Yeah.
It's just...
and they were saying all the Sunderland fans were coming up asking if their photo done with it. One of them could have run off with it, couldn't they? Who knows?
I had six coaches came from Norwich. Obviously, that was I hadn't been here that long. 6 coaches came down to watch it. I spent fortunes on tickets. All bonuses had gone. by the end of it.
Every time I see a player, I saw Steve Jones recently, and I remember him. We got on the bus coming out of Wembley, and he said, "Can we go and get some beers?" Like Steve Jones. So as we got to the hill, Wembley Station's there. As we got to the hill, there was an off licence. So we parked the bus up, Jonesy ran over, and a couple of other players bought a couple of cases of beers, but no one drank them. They opened one or two, but I think the whole thing, the whole day, and I reminded Jonesy about it the other day.
It's interesting to hear you both say that it's all such a blur, because do you think that is in part because you are just so focused, you almost go out of the experience?
And for me, I was very, very young. It was my first big game, Wembley, 80,000 people, whatever it was, ridiculous. The next big game, the next final that I played was with Middlesbrough. I'd been involved with England at that point and played obviously in the World Cup prior to that. And we got to the final, and I made a conscious effort to go and sit on the advertising audience after the game, just for 2 or 3 minutes, to try and soak it in, because the biggest day of my life at Wembley, only time I've ever played at Wembley, because when I played for England it was being rebuilt, so I never played there. I don't remember any of it. So I made a real conscious effort when we had the League Cup final.
Brighty was filming a lot of things, wasn't he? Brighty was filming a lot of the in the hotel and around on the bus, and he gave a few of the boys copies of it, because he said he wanted to remember.
Yeah.
Because we had him, no disrespect to Brighty, but I brought him back from wherever. Mark Bowen I bought from Japan, and they was at the end of their careers, but they were so influential with the young players. And, Wembley was a massive day for everybody. And, Brighty apparently videoed a lot of it.
Special memories. Let's move into the Premier League years now, and this matchup against West Ham was pretty special as well. This is back in October 1998. Charlton 4, West Ham 2. Any immediate memories springing to mind as we see Ian Wright give West Ham the lead? Another one.
It's my first Premier League goal. Actually, it's the only photo that I've got in my house of me playing football, of the celebration. I think I did John Arts at the back post whenever it comes up. But I remember, I think we played wing-backs that day. And I remember afterwards, I played well that day, and I came in afterwards, and they said to me, you've absolutely roasted Julian Dix. Do you think he should retire? I'm thinking, no, you can't say that. We've got to go to West Ham. I've got to go down the chicken run at some point. I'm going to get absolutely tortured, going down there. But yeah, now it's my first Premier League goal. I don't even know what goal it was, whether it was the third, fourth, whatever one it was. This might be it. No, I think it was from a corner. So it might have been the last goal. I'm not sure. But it's just, the Valley back then was rocking. It was. I came with my wife today, and she still knows the song. Many miles have I travelled and all that. So she, for us, it was huge. It was playing in the Premier League for the first time. Going to Anfield, going to Old Trafford, going to Newcastle, going to West Ham. This had never happened before. It was, and for the fans, I think as well, it was absolutely massive.
Donker goal disallowed before the most important goal of the game, obviously, Danny. Coming up now, your header, your second ball.
VAR would have probably ruled that onside or whatever it might have done.
This is your moment.
What a header though! Look at that, towering at the back post.
What was the score of this game?
Curbs
it was 4-2 in the end. To Charlton.
Oh, right.
You must have been. Maybe it's one of the ones you put in the package.
I was wing back that day. The defending side of it was nothing to do. But what a header this is! Look, completely unmarked.
I remember the 4-4. That was a good game.
Missed a few of them in my time.
Ruddert, Pearce.
Yeah.
Ian Wright.
I think that might have been the day that we're in the tunnel. We had Neil Redfern had obviously come down. Neil Redders had been relegated twice, hadn't he, in a row? God knows why Curbs bought him. Bad omen.
That's handy, isn't it?
But we're stood in the tunnel, and Redders went, right lads, let's do these Southern softies. Thinking, hang on a minute, half the Charlton team was Southern. Razor Ruddert came from the back of the thing and went, oi, who are you talking about? And we all sort of just like cowered in our shell and went, oh no, what have you done, Redders? Not a great idea.
Another great Charlton goal there, Curbs.
Was it Elio?
Yeah, it didn't matter though, I'd already scored the winner.
And look at that support, just incredible scenes.
But it was full every week.
I was going to say, they must have just been a really good period.
It was, the promotion and then, going up to the Premier League and going, Newcastle opening day, I think Roofs got sent off and then beating Southampton here 5-0, I think we beat them.
Went to Arsenal after that.
Yeah.
It was in the top 6.
Had a really good run. I think first team ever to be second after 2 games and get relegated. But it was boyhood dream stuff. You know, it was dreams come true that the teams and the players that we were suddenly playing against was absolutely magnificent.
And we're going to see now, I think, Robinson brought down by a young Rio Ferdinand. I think it's in the next phase of play. Skips round one and then the second.
It's a dive.
Again, look at the celebration. Do you know what I like about that is the celebration and just the hunger curves that you built from this team. And when you were going up against players in that West Ham, you just had to step up and be counted, didn't you?
I'm just looking at the West Ham side. I mean, they've got so many top players in their side.
And it's how angry Robbo is that he's won a penalty.
He's always angry now, isn't he?
Yeah. But no, it was a very, very small squad. I think opening day of the season, I think we played numbers 1 to 11, which was very, very unusual. You know, even back then, you know, in the Premier League. But it was a real tight unit. You know, it wasn't a big squad at all, was it?
No, we went down last game of the season. We won at Aston Villa, didn't we? Won at Aston Villa second from last game, which gave us a chance. But we really needed Wimbledon to beat Southampton. I was playing them at home, and Keith went to the game, and Keith was phoning.
Was it like 2-0 at half time?
Yeah, Wimbledon, if Wimbledon would have beat Southampton, it would have all been on the last game. And we had Barnsley at home, but they didn't. So it meant that we had to beat Barnsley. It wasn't in our hands anyway. So, you know, it took it away from us. But I always thought that Wimbledon would have beat Southampton on the day, and that would have given us a chance, but it didn't. And obviously, we got relegated, but as I said earlier, because Danny went to Leeds, it meant I could keep the squad together because people were sniffing around Rufus, Kinsella.
When you talk about tumultuous summers, my eldest son was born on the Wednesday, got relegated on the Sunday, went away with England on the Monday, Tuesday, 21s, dragged into the senior squad, and then that was it. You know, never came back to Charlton. Bizarre, really. You know, in a month, all those things happened, and it was just a absolute complete whirlwind.
Would it be completely remiss of us not to talk about your time playing for England? 19 caps for your country. I mean, there is no greater honour we can see on screen now with Michael Owen.
I couldn't get that out of Leeds either. I wanted that in the contract.
I bet you did.
If he got an England cap,
yeah.
You know. Same with Robert Lee with Keegan at Newcastle. We couldn't get it.
Did you? Well, I'm guessing on that point then, Curbs, you spotted early on that Danny had the potential to be an international.
Absolutely, and really, for the club to put it in, it's not a big deal. You know, they'd be happy if he went to Leeds and played for England, but we couldn't get it put in.
And what is it like, Danny? Like when you get
again,
that cap?
you know, the debut was obviously very, very special. Was at Pride Park again because you know Wembley was being rebuilt. That was incredibly special. Night after that, we had we had the weekend off. Played the Friday night. I think the Saturday night I fell off a piano. I fell off a bar. Slightly. Had one or two drinks too many, but no one cared back then. Everyone was like celebrating with you, and they enjoyed that part of it. You know, nowadays it would be on Instagram or Twitter, provided the floor. And then, of course, got fortunate. Gary Neville got injured, got in the World Cup squad, went to the World Cup, having not even sure if I was going to make the World Cup squad, and played in that. And I remember walking out that first game against Sweden, and just thinking, this is it now. This is the pinnacle. You know, as a kid, you're dreaming about, can I get a Norwich City youth team? Can I get in the reserves? Can I play in the Championship? I've got to move to Charlton. We're in the Premier League. Can I be a Premier League regular? All these little sort of moments, and all of a sudden you go, now I'm playing in a World Cup.
Singing your national anthem.
Yeah, and you suddenly go, oh wow, this is like, not that you've made it, but you sort of. All those people that have said you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not this, you've suddenly proved to everybody that you know you deserve to be there.
All that sacrifice, all that hard work, and it's been fascinating and a really enjoyable experience to relive some of your happy memories here at the Valley. And plenty of supporters have been in touch with some questions as well. And Paul has asked Danny, what experience did you enjoy more? I think I can't know where this might go, but the 1998 playoff final or playing for England at the World Cup in 2002.
Do you know what? They're both special. We lost in the World Cup, so not great. In all honesty, they're both different. They're in their own right. They're both, you know, playing at a World Cup is defining, but also that playoff game was a defining moment in my career because had that not have happened, had Mickey Gray not have hit the worst penalty on the planet, and let's make no bones about it, it wasn't a great save from Sasha. He fell on it as much as what he. But if that doesn't happen, I don't know what happens. You know, and I said it's that sliding doors moment. So no, they're equally as good.
Yeah, and Stephen on WhatsApp has asked Curbs, how much would Danny be worth in today's market? Because we've spoken about all of his traits in that full-back position.
Well, so it was four and a half million,
wasn't it? Yeah. 4.5 million then.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot.
And actually, I tell you, I was in the. And I don't know. Actually, I'll share this. I was on. This is how things have changed. My base wage when we were in the Premier League was £1,250 a week.
Wow, add a few zeros onto that nowadays in today's game.
So that's the sort of comparison. You know, people thought, which even then was good money for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, but not. You know, we're in the Premier League. You know, Curbs had a very tight budget. You know, couldn't go out and splash the cash and bring huge players in. So, yeah, it just goes to show how the game has changed.
I think it goes as well to show, Curbs, just the eye that you had for players.
Well, I got. Obviously, I was lucky because I got close to him in that squad. But the first thing that attracted me was the pace. And as Danny is talking about the Premier League now, you'll be comfortable in the Premier League now.
Yeah.
Because of the pace.
I think I could play League One.
I think we'd be giving you the form.
I genuinely feel now, though, the way if my knees were all right and I didn't finish for injury, I look at some of these games and think, because it's so much slower and it's passing it around about, I think, I'm sure I could play in that now. I'd be fit. My general fitness would be all right. Just that sadly the knees aren't up.
I think we'd happily take you up on that offer, wouldn't we? Get him back into the Charlton 11. But let's move on now quickly to Charlton's women's team, who've had a fantastic start to the campaign, and I'm looking forward to a very exciting second half as well. The team currently sits second in the FA Women's Championship, and it will be an exciting second half of the season as they push for promotion. Half-season tickets are now on sale, so make sure that you get yours now by visiting booking.cafc.co.uk for more details. And we're quickly approaching kick-off here at the Valley as Charlton take on Oxford United. If you are just joining us, there is one change to the starting 11. Alfie May, unfortunately, is out injured, and Tyrese Campbell will be starting in the front three with Daniel Canoe centrally and Corey Blackett-Taylor out on the left. But let's have a look at how both teams will line up for today's game.